So, really at the end of the day, what we wanted to do throughout the course of this year is really understand where is it that we can help connect developers in the fastest and simplest way possible. I know working with someone like Mose, who's, him and I have had the opportunity to work together for quite some time now. We've really come to focus in on a few major key roles. And then really from there, the rest is kind of based on demand. What I can tell you today, the highest in demand roles in Canada, where it's very simple for them to hire globally, and not have to worry about having that person come in for an in-person interview and so on, is really lies in things like a full stack developer engineer, front end and back end developer or engineers, and then obviously iOS and Android. Those tend to be where the process is the simplest for us in order to really connect you up. Now, across other types of disciplines, it's not that they're not hiring, but things start to become very complicated when you try to test and understand the nuances between a DevOps. We get a lot of great profiles for project managers or product owners and stuff like that. But unfortunately, it's just such a difference in how you can recruit for someone, for that while they're sitting in another country versus testing someone out and finding out if they're really going to be a great full stack developer and engineer. So that's one of the things that we've come to learn, and we're really trying to focus that a lot. It doesn't mean that we're not going to accept everyone. We just want you to be really understanding of the time frames behind profiles that might be a bit different than those 5 that I've mentioned.
That's a really great point to mention. So again, just to reiterate, it's not about whether there is an opportunity for you or not. It's about how fast it actually realizes itself for you, right? So depending on how kind of standard your journey has been throughout your career, that's also how standard your path to Canada can be. So if you've really focused on a back-end development or full stack development role, and it's pretty clear and evident from your profile and types of projects and skill sets that you've acquired, it's pretty clear that your focus is there, then it also becomes easier for recruiters to match you to positions. A lot of times, one of the issues that comes up when I talk to a lot of members of our community is there's actually a little bit of confusion on the candidate side, what kind of roles they want to aim for, and there's a huge spectrum of different roles that you want to apply for. That's great to keep your options open, but I think at some point you really need to make a decision on what you want to focus on and create your resume and the projects that you take on to focus on that. So that's kind of a common issue and thread. Thank you. And
can I guess Mo, so the second follow-up to that question kind of lies on how we submit candidates or submit profiles to the different companies that we work with. So, one of the things that we really pride ourselves in is working very closely and partnering with the companies that we do. So when an incredible profile comes towards us, or we go through and say, hey, this is the type of, I'll keep mentioning full stack or a backend this today just as an example, but we say, hey, we get this incredible full stack developer engineer. They're highly motivated. They want to come to Canada. They're putting in the work as well. And so, we will go out there and we actually introduce that person, and we literally go out there and tell them things about you that we've learned. Right? And so one of the things that helps on your side or as a candidate, which helps us, is the amount of work that you're putting in to actually prepare, not only generically, but then for that company as well. It's incredible. We go through this incredible amount of work, both of us, both you and our team, to get you in front of this. We know you guys standardize your resume, those another technical test, and we do all this work. And then, we go and present you with, hey, this person from Nigeria, or this person from India, or this person from the US, they're incredible. And we get them in front, and it's so important for you to be prepared. And, if you are serious about being involved in this process, one of the things that I really highly encourage you to do, attend the interview prep, take the webinars, get out there and get a hold of this information on how to interview and so on, because that's really going to, be that help in that defining characteristics between making a decision between you and maybe someone else inside of the process.
Exactly. That's also one of the things that we see a lot happening is that, you know, you shouldn't take the process personally. These recruiting processes in most companies are designed to reject people, to be honest. And that doesn't mean that they're looking to reject people. They're just trying to end up with a small list of the best, right? So you need to remove excuses for you to be rejected. For example, your CV is not really clear, so the recruiter just doesn't spend time looking at it because there's so many other candidates they have to look at, and they rather focus it on people who have a perfect resume, or for people who are super clear about what kind of position they're looking for, because to them it seems like, okay, this person will be happy in this position once I hire them. There's a lot of little points that you need to consider that will make a huge impact throughout this process for you and the results you get. And it's kind of like I guess like an A/B testing model where you have to make some tweaks to your profile and see what kind of positions you're getting and how your process is going as well. Great. And so yeah, we covered kind of how long it takes for a developer to get interviewed and what kind of profiles we're working on. Also, how we share profiles with companies and hiring partners that we work with. Okay, someone else, I guess this is kind of a follow-up connecting question to this. Someone asked, the process still isn't clear to me. Like, how do you work with Canadian firms? What happens? Like, once you're submitting me, what happens? How do you guys work with them? So maybe just a quick explanation of how our process looks like.
Yeah, so we, you know, the companies that we choose to partner with in Canada, we're looking, you know, to make sure that they have, you know, diverse and inclusive workplaces, that they have a strong culture, and you know what they're looking for, and so essentially we go out there and we decide to partner with a company. That company could be a great company like a TWG, it could be an enterprise like a Deloitte, you know, RBC, and so on. And then we go out there, and one of the first things that we're going to do is we actually interview them. And we're throughout that interview process, we're trying to find out what is a day in the life going to look like for you. And based off of that, we also try to find out what is the information around what does their team look like, what are they actually looking for. You know, you'll probably hear this across. You know, we'll say what are the must-haves that this person, you know, must have essentially, you know, inside of their profile. And then from there, that kind of starts what we kind of call like our matching process. You know, I take that information, or one of our account managers will take that information back to our team. And so Mo heads up, you know, the talent team, and you've probably met some incredible people there as well. You know, people like Adeline and Louisa and Alina and so on. And what ends up happening is they then go, and they're responsible to say, hey, you know what, this person would probably be has all of the must-haves and none of the red flags, or you know, and so on, that this company is looking for. And then the account management team and the talent team, they sit down together and they say, okay, why is this person the best person to send? Why are these three people the best people to send forward to the company? And we get as much information as possible, and then we go ahead and submit that. And most companies we work with today, we do a weekly call with. Otherwise, you know, somewhere between, we're touching base with them three times a month. And we go ahead and consistently calibrate to ensure that the right people are getting across. And one of the things that we don't do is we don't send them, you know, 30 or 40 profiles all at once. You know, we actually go out there and really try to figure out who are the best, you know, inside to start with, and then we work backwards from there to ensure that they're getting the right people from our pool.
Perfect. Thank you for that explanation. I think it made it pretty clear for everyone how the process works. Any questions in the meantime? I don't see anything posted here. Okay. Okay. Well. Okay. So we also have some questions in the Q&A. Nice. Great. So let's talk about some of these questions. First up, so an anonymous attendee asked, how different is 2000, I don't know how it's anonymous because we can see everybody here, but how different is 2019 going to be for the Canadian ecosystem? What new roles, opportunities can you foresee based on happenings and 2018. Will the global skills visa remain just as relevant as in 2018?
Yeah, all great questions. Let's start with in terms of the ecosystem in Canada continues to grow, and the government continues to pump money into ensuring that they're supporting the ecosystem from there. There's been announcements of superclusters. There's millions of dollars going into artificial intelligence and into all different types of ecosystems and centers, and definitely focused on different types of talent and company attraction to Canada. There's literally missions going around of people from the government that are actually going to different parts of the world and attracting very successfully companies to Canada in order to continue to drive the innovation and growth out there. There's been numerous reports in 2018. There was one very recently on how, there's the World Economic Forum talked about there's 750 million people worldwide right now that are considering migration. And if you look at the top countries that they're considering migration to, number 2 right now is actually Canada. And it's the number 1 destination for most people from the US as well, which has the highest level of migration or the wants to migrate in history at the moment. 1 out of 5 Americans wants to leave the country. So what that means, means for us is that the country is open for business. The immigration minister has talked about bringing in 1% of our population in the form of immigrants on an annual basis. And so they're talking about bringing in 1 million immigrants into Canada over the next 3 years. So, just continues to drive the country, drive the ecosystems that are available. And I think you're going to start to see some great big success stories and exits come out of Canada as well in the ecosystem. There's a lot of companies that are on an upward trajectory. Because of this openness for business, what's also happening is, a lot of people are building subsidiary offices. And so you'll have companies from the Valley, companies from New York, Boston, and so on, and they're starting to set up offices across Canada as well. And so you're getting the opportunity to actually work with some of these companies that are, from the Silicon Valley and so on as well. In terms of the global skills visa or the strategy itself, that's only one part of what we do. We've been able to find, other opportunities that are just as fast. But essentially, when you look at the global skills strategy, it was a pilot program that was supposed to run until June of 2019. But due to the success of the program, Minister Navdeep Bains actually came out just a few weeks ago, right before Christmas holiday timeframe, and talked about how they're going to be extending the mandate. So what we don't know right now is if they're extending it as a pilot further or if they're extending it as a full-fledged program. But all indications are that the program is being extended.
Great. So I think that was a lot of great information. I hope you guys took notes. Lots of stuff I was actually taking notes for myself. Lots of stuff. But I hope you guys get an overview of what the opportunity looks like. I think, to me, what I understand from that is the door is still open, opportunities are there and plenty, and it looks like more than ever, there's a lot of investment happening in Canada and opportunities keep on growing. So, if you're up for it, you can grab that opportunity and join one of these startups, take it to the next level. More questions. Okay, so let's start with this one. What about the visa process? Is your company handling the visa process, or is it on the client side? So here's the question.
So what we've done is we partnered with a law firm in Canada called Green and Spiegel, and Stephen Green, who's the managing partner there, it was actually sat on the round table which architected the global skill strategy. This is a huge law firm. They've got about 115 lawyers. There's actually 7 kids in the family, and they're all lawyers. And so this is one of the last family boutique law firms left in Canada. Stephen's father at one time was considered, or still considered, the dean of immigration, and it's actually quoted multiple times when, if you're going to become an immigration lawyer, you know who he is. And so, we went right to the source to find out, who's out there, working with the government, working with understanding these different types of programs. And so what we do is once a company, an offer has been made, or, the company has initiated partnering with us, Green and Spiegel steps in, and they actually handle the entire visa and immigration process with the company. We will help facilitate it. We'll send you a checklist for some of the things that you need. And I think one of the initiatives that we're working on right now for 2019 is figuring out a way to send you some of the checklist up front for some of the things that would stay relevant right throughout the year, whether you're hired, right away or not. Certain things expire, like police clearances and medical clearances and so on. So, those things you may want to wait on, but there's other things like, making sure that your degrees and stuff like that are there, are translated, whether you do those now or you do those, 6 months from now. Those do stay relevant, and so we're going to be working on that as well. But that process is completely handled on the cost side as well by the company.
Perfect. So nothing to worry about there. And actually, another related question. Rajesh asked, how is the accommodation and travel taken care of? Do we bear that ourselves for the first month, or is there any compensation from the companies?
Oh, sorry about that. We're just having a little bit of background noise here. In terms of the relocation cost, it really depends company by company. So what we've seen some companies that actually don't do anything right from zero, and then we've seen other companies that might do 1 month worth of salary, might have a specific amount. So once again, it really depends on company by company cases. One of the things that we do suggest is, we do talk about that during the offer process and so on, and during the interview process and stuff like that. It's they're going to ask you if you have any questions as well. And those are questions that, you can feel free to ask during that process too. We also go through and try to vet out that information up front. So we understand, and we'll be as upfront with that information as possible for you. So it's simple for you on your side.
Okay, so moving on from immigration-related questions, focusing a little bit on profiles. So Olahida is asking, what makes an incredible profile? I've heard once from Adeline when my CV was being reviewed, but how do I know my CV is not incredible, or do I get feedback on my CV? That's a great question.
Yeah, and we still continue to do our resume standardization process with the templates and so on.
Yes. So maybe I should explain actually this process, what it looks like right now. So how we're able to help you at this point, given the number of candidates we have, is what we do is we send, once you've passed our initial screening test. So it means during that test, we have a few questions we ask you, and kind of like, video questions targeting your motivations and different important aspects. And also we're evaluating your English skills, because definitely there is a minimum requirement in terms of how fluent you are in English. So once you pass that, and also the coding challenge, you have also attached your previous resume. So we take a look and we look at your general experience, and if it seems like a match, you're not actually 100% approved yet until your resume has been completed. And that's one of the things that is sometimes, not taken into consideration with a lot of our candidates, is that without your standard resume, your profile is not going to be shared with companies. And the reason for that is the level of detail required is almost 90%, I would say 90% of the time, the level of detail we require in a resume is not met in the resumes that we see. So that's why we have kind of forced everybody to use that template. That template is shared with you. There's clear instructions on how you should be filling up that template with examples. And we've set example, like with one job, how should it look like? And if you have like multiple positions that you've worked at in the past few years, just copy and paste that same method for each position, starting from your most recent and going backwards. That's the most important part. Obviously, a quick summary at the top really helps, mainly talking about your generally what kind of developer or you see yourself, and what kind of positions you're looking for, and what you see as your main strengths and kind of your selling points. Why are you the best candidate for the next company? And we also have a summary of your technical skills. So a very standard format that we've seen over and over again, works really well and communicates all the points to candidates. So just follow that template. Pay as much attention as you can to details. Talk about your projects. Your role in those projects is what is important, not generally just what the project was. So we don't need a description of the project. We need your role in the project. We need what achievements, what achievements you had, and of course the technical stack that you used during that project. These are like the basic requirements for a resume. We also have a regarding how you should be presenting yourself. We're creating a next version of this template, maybe a little bit more details in terms of explanation, but it's going to take some time to complete that. But right now, just use the template and you should be fine. It's worked well until now.
Yeah, I think one thing to add onto that, I don't know, personally, I know creating a resume is not exactly the most exciting task. It's not something you want to be doing every Friday night type of thing. But it is part of the process that we need to go through. So you need to look at this from the eyes of the company, or look at it from the eyes of the hiring manager, or that CTO, and so on, or the HR manager. And really, what they're looking for is they're looking for clear, concise information. Because I'd love this not to be a lie, but most people don't spend more than 20 or 30 seconds, if that, on the first glance of a resume. So when we designed this resume template, we went and said, hey, okay, here's what we're trying to do. We want to keep this as quick as possible for you. What is it that you want to see up front? And so we went and we actually got feedback from the HR managers and said, this is why we created the resume to be this way. I'm sure there's tons of different builders out there. There's tons of other things. But we actually went and said, hey, this is our first iteration. They said, yeah, we like this. We don't like this. Boom, we kicked it out. They said, what else do you want to see? Well, we want to see what stack did they actually work on in their job. We want them to know that they were just a PHP developer. We want to know what did they also work across. That was one thing that's really important. The second thing that's incredibly important is talking about those achievements in a way that's quantifiable. So I'm the best developer in the world. Great. But I took something from 10,000 transactions to 100,000 transactions, and now you become interesting, right? You got to look at it from a perspective, how do I stand out to that person who's only going to take a quick look at this? Now, the difference is they might spend 30 or 40 seconds, because now we're also saying, hey, this is the reason you want to be talking to this gentleman or this lady from, all over the world type of thing. We're going to help with that too. But imagine how much easier that becomes in the matching process if we have that information up front for ourselves. We can highlight it. So anything that you can quantify, don't say I led a team. Say, hey, I led a team of 4, or I built a team and took them from 4 to 40, and so on. And those things then become, once again, things that help them to stand out.
Perfect. Yes, those are super important points. Thank you for bringing those up. And just a final kind of note on this. Remember, your resume is almost always the first impression the company has from you. So every single piece of information that they need to know that is critical for making a decision should be on that piece of paper. That's all they have from you. They don't know your entire history. They might not even check your GitHub or LinkedIn at the first glance. They just take 10 seconds, 15 seconds, go through your resume, and that's how they make a decision whether to spend more time or not on your profile. And that's why it's so critical. Thank you. Let's move on to another question. Okay, so Talal had a really long question, so we'll get to that. But let's look at other questions. So Olahida asked, how does GSH manage pool of developers so each developer's journey doesn't get mixed up? Interesting question. Basically, each developer, I'm just going to respond to this one quickly. Each developer has a TA or a talent ambassador, which takes care of their journey. So you're in contact with them. We also manage all your data in one specific pool. And each TA works with a specific number of candidates that come through and usually handles you. It hasn't been like this in the past, but it's almost 100% like this now, which is from the beginning. For the first time, we send you an email and introduce GSH to you all the way up to getting hired. You probably are in touch with one TA, and anyone from the other company or from our team, like me or Yusuf, might get in touch with you to discuss details about your interview. But other than that, one person is managing your entire process, so there's no mix-up of your journeys. It's pretty standard and pretty clear. So no worries there. Another question. Generally, people with how much? Okay, so basically, the question is, how much experience do you need to have to get referrals of the company as part of Fullbusk? Sorry, this question is a bit difficult for me to understand. I think the way it's written is difficult, but I think a question I would ask is, how much experience do you need to have in order to be, referred to a company? And well, the answer is pretty clear. If you're here, you already have enough experience. Generally, we require people to have, around a minimum of 5 years of experience, depending on what kind of roles you're targeting. And it doesn't necessarily mean the more the better. It's just about like the type of experience you've had is important for companies. A lot of times, and sometimes it's not about whether your experience is good or bad. It's just that it has to be a match. So maybe if a startup is looking to hire you, they're looking for previous startup experience. Or if you're working for a big company that's growing really fast, they want to know that you've worked in a company that's growing really fast, or a product that is scaling to millions of users, so that you know what kind of challenges come up, right? And that's just, a realistic expectation. Doesn't mean that your profile is bad, just that it might not be a match for that company. Any points to add here, Yusuf?
Nope, I think that's pretty straightforward from that perspective.
Lahida also asked, can someone with iOS experience join GSH? Tried referring my friend, but he didn't see iOS when signing up. That's very strange. iOS is part of the roles that we have once you take this intake form. And definitely you can refer your friend. So just send the email of your friend to me or Adeline, and we'll take care of it. Another question, which is really good. While we're being matched, can we update our GSH resume? Of course you can, and you absolutely should. And just whenever you have some free time, it doesn't hurt to just go and update it. Use the link that you've got shared with your TA. So what happens is you're sharing a Google Docs version of your resume with your TA, right? So any changes you make, we can see there. But it's also a great idea just to send a one-liner email to your TA and say, hey, I just updated my resume. Can you take a look? It's always a great idea to do that. And it would help you and us a lot. Just answer that quickly. Let's go. Ooh, we've got a lot of questions. By the way, another reminder, anyone who's live can also just jump on the microphone, ask a question if you'd like to hear someone else's voice. Wouldn't be too bad.
I think we can handle this with, I think Talal has this question. I'm not sure if Talal, if Talal, I'm not sure if you had kind of jumped up at the beginning of the call when I was trying to explain this a little bit further, but I wanted to just reiterate, we really appreciate your patience, for everyone across different roles. But what we've seen, primarily right now, is that the highest in demand roles for global hiring. It's not that product manager demands are not there and so on. So the ones that are the highest in demand and the simplest process for us to put forward, and then also for companies to engage, at this moment in time, we've seen them kind of center around 5 or 6 roles, which have been full stack, back end, front end. and mobile iOS and Android type roles. What's been happening across other types of roles like product managers and so on is the market really hasn't matured yet to the point where they're comfortable completely hiring those roles from abroad. Doesn't mean that the companies don't exist that are going to hire them. It doesn't mean that there's absolutely no way that that's going to happen. But you guys have all seen that adoption curve, and so there's the early adopters and so on. But you got to imagine, the first part of this whole challenge was, can we even recruit someone who's sitting in Lagos or sitting in Calcutta or sitting in Dhaka or sitting in Arizona as an H-1B visa holder? That was the first thing that they had to conquer. And what's happened is, because of all these success stories, and you see us always posting on LinkedIn and so on, and all these other companies that are starting to understand that this is actually possible, and now these people are turning around and doing some incredible things inside of the ecosystem. That was kind of the first part of this. Yeah, you can actually hire globally. We've come across and kind of crossed that chasm. Now the next chasm to cross is, well, who is it that's the easiest, simplest? Who can we kind of test this on to ensure that this process, because we still need to get all of our stakeholders comfortable. And so what we've seen in the beginning is that, hey, what's happening is those kind of 5-6 roles that, I'm talking about, those are the beginning ones that are, and that's what's going to really create over the next few months. You're going to see that's going to create the next wave of adoption for this whole process. So like I said, it's not that those roles are not available. It's not that they're not. We're just at a different maturity level on them inside the Canadian tech ecosystem. So we continue to just ask for your patience. When those roles pop up, and come up, you're the first person that we let know if you match them. But there's just keep that kind of hierarchy of adoption in mind, I say.
Yes, really great point. And I'm so glad. Look at all these great questions that are popping up about these issues. And yes, I also wanted to add that this is a new process for everyone, and you just have to be patient. I would recommend that you keep in the game so you don't disconnect with us. You never know; those great opportunities pop up. Yes, there might not be that many companies who are open to, for example, hiring a DevOps engineer from abroad, but the few that are will have a smaller pool to play with. And if you're in touch with us and if your profile is ready, you will grab that opportunity because everyone else will give up. So keep in touch with us. Those processes are in place. We're trying to get clients working with us by, first of all, working maybe on just like the standard roles that everybody definitely needs, and then kind of opening up more difficult roles that are more challenging to hire for. And that's kind of been the pattern that we've seen with most clients. So be patient with us, keep in the game, keep your profile and resume updated. It's all win for you, and definitely nothing to lose. So please keep in there. A bunch of interesting questions have popped up. I just want to quickly, and before I go there, Talal had the last part of your question was you would like some visibility on what's happening on your profile. Unfortunately, at this point, we don't have enough hands on deck to give you full visibility of what's happening. We're working on a platform solution that we're custom building, and it's going to take a few months at least for that to show any any visibility to you. So be patient. We're taking care of it. If there's any point, believe it or not, if there is any point of valuable information to communicate with you, we will be the first to make sure that happens as soon as possible. Because the sooner communications are being passed through between you and clients and everything, the faster things get done on our end as well. So don't worry, we're not keeping anything from you for a second longer than we need to. So if there's information, if there's an action that you need to take, we're going to let you know. Just kind of follow through that process. Trust us with this. We've done it enough to know what you need to focus on. Another question, if during the process we get rejected, do we get, I think you mean contacted by the company or by GSH? It depends. Usually the companies try to reach out to you. If for whatever reason the company isn't doing that, then we'll reach out to you and let you know what the process is looking like. Also, another question. I have friends and family who have already lived and worked in Canada, and one challenge they have was employers wanting Canadian work experience. How does GSH scale that fence with its candidates? Very interesting question. Yusuf?
Yeah, so uh, one of the differences that we've seen now is that companies that we're working with, tech ecosystem companies, actually do not want Canadian experience per se. They're actually looking, it's not that they don't want Canadian experience, they're actually looking for global scaling experience. The experience they're looking for right now is they're looking for who's been involved with a company that's scaled. And more importantly, who's been involved in a company that's similar, or in the similar vertical that's also scaled. We have a population, we have the second largest landmass in the world, and we only have a population of 33 million people. To kind of put that in perspective, there's like 340 million people in the US. And so you imagine, like, out of this small group of 33 million people and this smaller group of tech professionals, we don't have enough people who've scaled or companies or worked at scaling companies. So that's what they're actually looking for today. Right now, it's not that they're looking for Canadian experience. That conversation was very different 2 years ago, or even 18 months ago. But today, companies have woken up to the fact that it doesn't matter if you've coded in one country or coded in another country. It's the type of experience that you have, not where you've had that experience.
Yes, and I'm so happy that this is the case, because it shows the maturity and the openness of this ecosystem for you. So you should definitely be looking for that. If you're looking to relocate anywhere in the world, not just Canada, definitely look for this in that ecosystem, because you want to be welcomed and your experience to be a value add to the team that you're joining. And we're definitely seeing that with the clients that we're working with, and we actually only work with those kind of clients. Otherwise, it's just a waste of time. So yes, it's not about Canadian work experience per se. It's more about your industry work experience, the type of product that you've worked on. Have you been in an agency environment and you've worked on lots of different projects? That might be not interesting for a lot of companies, but it might be interesting for a lot more. So it's always kind of a match of the type of environment that you've worked in. How familiar are you with agile development methodologies? Have you actually practiced it, or have you just kind of read about it online? Have you done pair programming? All these different techniques that you've been exposed to can contribute to what is considered your experience. Perfect. Another question. How has the experience been so far for GSH? How satisfied have your clients been? What changes can we expect in GSH process this year? Are companies getting more comfortable hiring from overseas? So parts of this are, it feels like someone's interviewing us, but it's really cool. I love these questions. Yusuf is better equipped to answer this question. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, from an experience standpoint, so far, it's been incredible for us. It's interesting. The companies that we work with that have successfully hired with us continue to hire, and that's probably the biggest, indicator that this process of not only their satisfaction but their openness to this process. And I think that's what's always excited us before. To date, actually, there's only been one company that hasn't that we worked with that has continued to hire. Everyone else says, yeah, let's keep going. Who else can we bring in? And as they scale and so on. We have one company that only wants to hire globally. It's, they're pretty interesting company that we've been working with. So, that from that perspective, definitely the clients are happy, they're satisfied, because the people that, we brought in, and are bringing in through this process, like yourselves, they're highly motivated, they're dedicated, they're wanting to do something bigger with their lives. It takes a lot of courage to move from one country to another country, uproot your family, and then set up somewhere else. If that isn't enough indication of the character, or the depth of your character, then I don't know what else is. The fact that PHP on the side, or Java, or JavaScript, or whatever, that's just gravy. right? But the fact that you have that kind of courage and that kind of vision for your life is incredible. So, they're starting to see that. So they're getting way more comfortable. The market itself is getting more comfortable about it as well. I know this is a follow-up on the question because we see articles all the time, in terms of more and more companies talking about this. We were I think it was Friday. Yeah, just before Friday, someone tagged me on a LinkedIn comment and said, "Hey, well, make sure you check out Global Skills Hub and the team over, Yusuf and his team over." And I looked up the comment, and it was an article about a company that had gone out and used the global skills process. And then someone else had said, "Hey, you also need to," like, they had done it on their own. So that shows you how comfortable. But companies are definitely out there getting this process done and getting way more comfortable with it from there. One of the things that would really, this is an aside. One of the things that would really help us today, and I'm giving you the opportunity. I'm giving you full. Probably you can talk to Adeline, or you can go and send me a message on LinkedIn. One of the things that would help us today is the credibility behind what we do. And we've been working with the government on getting this up and running. So what we want to do is really, if you have local publications, newspapers, if you're connected in your own media or your own press, if you've got a cousin somewhere that's working, at the Times and so on and so forth, we'd love to talk to them. And we'd love to share with them the story of their people. This is not a question of like brain drain or anything like that. What we're doing here today is really helping to empower all the countries that we're working with, and so on. So I think it's important that we get these stories out and also get this program out. We're doing all the stuff that we can do to market this and get it out there. But if you do know of anyone within your own local media that you can help to introduce us to, I think that would be extremely, extremely helpful in ensuring both sides are creating a stronger connection for this program.
Perfect. Thank you for that complete answer. Wow, more questions. Okay. We don't have a lot of time, maybe 10 minutes. So another question here. I recommended some friends to GSH and they are yet to be contacted after their online code challenge test. This is entirely my fault because we have so many of you who have been referred. I think we have over 150 people in a backlog of tests who've done tests and are waiting to be checked. I've started doing this again today since we've started the new year, just last week, and we're going to get in touch with you as soon as possible. It doesn't mean that we're not considering you for opportunities. It's just that, we can't forward you to any companies until the tests have been looked at and we look at your profile, and then we take you to the CV resume step. So be patient with us. We're definitely here, and we're gonna get in touch with you as soon as possible. Other question. So Talal also asked, based on the jobs, I think this one is more for you, Yusuf. So based on the jobs that you've come across so far, what are the most sought after skills with regards to development-based jobs? Basically, what Talal wants to know is, are there more jobs for .NET developers or for maybe open source platforms? Or are there more jobs for mobile development? What's out there?
We're seeing a lot across the board, but what we're seeing, I think, is people that have been what they're looking for, people that have been experienced and had a journey across understanding different languages. If they've known one, then it's really easy for them to jump in and learn another one. So that's one type of journey that they're looking at. I think Mo likes to call them polyglots, as so on. So but we're seeing everything across the board when it comes to development. So, I think there's a ton of Ruby, Python right now. We're seeing a lot of C# and .NET come back, which is interesting. What else? Mobile is just always a part, of the package. But I would say as of late, we probably continue to see a lot of PHP, Python, and Ruby. Actually, I guess Node and so JavaScript has just come back in huge. So I wish I could give you a really specific answer on that, and we're working on some data on that, by the way. But at this point, what I can tell you is it's developed. It's more that type of role that's in the highest demand, as opposed to the other very important roles. Development type roles are the most in demand.
Yeah, and I think the part that I can add to that is whatever your specialty is, I think I would adopt two mindsets regardless of what you consider your tech stack. Number one, I would consider always being up to date with whatever the latest framework, whatever the latest trend is in your area of expertise. Always be up to date. At least experiment with whatever is the latest out there, and understand the differences between different tools, different versions that you work with. These are things that show a lot of depth of knowledge, especially in interviews. They a lot of times come up as questions, and it's great to understand that. The other part I would focus on is really going back into computer science fundamentals, understanding how to design an algorithm, data structures. These are the key backbones that every developer is expected to know, and it's almost unanimously across every single company that we've seen. That is the number one thing that is being tested from everyone, is your problem-solving ability and how well you are with understanding computer science fundamentals. So these are like two things that are, it doesn't matter what your role you apply for, you need to be really good at these. So to increase your chances, go and brush up on those skills, maybe take an online course. It'll cost you maybe $5 or $10 to complete one, just to review that information, and take a bunch of tests just to make sure you're in the mindset of working with these tests. And so as long as you kind of keep yourself up to date, always consider going back to the core and fundamental topics that you should be you should have mastered by now. And also another point would be, also a trend that we're seeing is everyone's interested in engineers, developers that have various skills. So it's okay to experiment with different tools. It just, at least what it shows is that you're open to learning, and you can quickly try a new skill and acquire it and apply it. So I think these are like 3 learning points that I would use. Let's see if we have any more questions, because our time.
Hi, Mo. Can you hear me?
Yes. Hello. Finally, someone spoke.
Yeah. I know we don't have so much time left, so I have one more question.
Go ahead.
I want to know what's the future for Global Skills Hub? I mean, with the tech ecosystem growing in Canada, and should I say immigration needs arising in different countries, where do you guys see Global Skills Hub in, say, 2 to 5 years?
Wow. There's been a lot of peculiar interest in the future of Global Skills Hub, which is great. I think it's we've also been talking a lot about these questions in our leadership meetings as well. I'm pretty sure Yusuf had some ideas about this. Obviously, we never know what's happening. We're taking it day by day. We have a lot of plans and a lot of strategies that we're executing on every day. Things change, and we adapt to that, and we try to move as fast as possible. But Yusuf, what do you think? What is your ideal for what would happen in the next 2 to 5 years or whatever?
Look, fundamentally, we started the company because we believe that we could unite people to solve life's greatest challenges. And every startup comes out there, and every tech company comes out there, and they're trying to solve some challenge. And we wanted to say, if we could unite people, and we live in this interesting world today where it doesn't really matter anymore. The borders don't need to exist as much as they do. I know it's more of a philosophical conversation that we can sit here for hours upon and so on. But today we've created an intersection between immigration, recruitment, and relocation and integration, integrating and into a community and into a country. Fundamentally, that's where we lie as a company, and we want to do that across the world. Canada today is proving to the world that by opening its doors, in the next 2 to 5 years, you will get to see the fruits of that labor that was put into actually opening its doors, when a lot of countries around the world are choosing to close their doors. And so I think we're gonna get to see that. The future for us lies in this. We need to turn this into a process. We need to grow and continue to help more and more people across the world come together. And so what that looks like today is constantly, as Mo talked about, it's constantly a conversation that we're having. And we know we need to get a better platform going, and get better updates going for all of our community members, at the same time that we need to make these connections faster. And this is a 2,000-year-old industry, if you look at it, when it comes to recruitment and mobility. And there hasn't been a lot of innovation inside of it. And so we're hoping to learn, as we go through this process, month by month, and helping more and more people, how is it that we can make this process simpler, faster, painless, and make it successful for all the key stakeholders involved. We were just a few weeks, actually just right after the holidays, the first GSH baby was born, which means the first, someone had come over just a few months ago, and they had a daughter. Their daughter was born in Canada. We want to hear thousands and thousands and thousands of those stories. That's kind of where we're headed. So, we just continue. I know we've got a couple minutes here, and I'm almost going to wrap up. So we just continue to ask for your patience. We continue to ask for your support. I think we're going to be, I'm pretty sure we're going to be coming to you for support in a larger way, technically, when, in the next little while. We've got some ideas that we've been working on and so on. So, I know Mo will be reaching out over the next few months as we start to formulate that. But we're just, we're excited about where we're headed as a company, because we want to help more and more people, and help more and more families. So that's kind of where we're headed. And who knows, when they head to Mars, they're going to need a recruitment, integration, and immigration firm too. And we'll probably have to change our name to Universal or International or something, but we'll help them out there too.
Galaxy. You just changed global to Galaxy. Thank you so much. Thank you everyone for your patience. And thank you, Yusuf, for having the patience to respond to all these questions. Once again, please keep in touch with us. Send us your feedback as much as you can. We try to keep our sessions very kind of straightforward, simple, straight to the point. Let us know. Universal Skills Hub, I like that. So keep it straight to the point. Keep it really, we're very, very informal. Just, we want communication to be fast and honest and as fluid as possible, so we can integrate it into our process and adapt quickly. We're always just an email away from you. So don't be shy and reach out with questions, with concerns, with ideas or suggestions, or anyone you want to refer to us. Please do so. We will take care of them. I know sometimes our process seems a bit slow, but we're faster than anyone else in this industry. So bear with us. Once again, thank you for being awesome members of our community. And we have lots of great plans for you this year.